Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the global community for adult survivors of complex trauma, any type of childhood trauma in the form of abuse, any type of abuse. This includes emotional neglect as well. And this also includes, especially if you were raised in an environment where there was a lot of flaring emotions or violence at the dinner table or in your home, or just severe emotional neglect, any type of abuse, really, an abuse of power that you experienced when you were a child and now you're an adult and you're struggling. You're struggling in your relationships, your friendships, your intimate partner relationship, your relationships with your coworkers, with your boss. Perhaps your finances are a concern for you, or you just are unable to find ways to manage your finances that feel like it's in alignment with what you want. Maybe your physical health has been affected. Perhaps you have some gastrointestinal concerns. Perhaps maybe even you're living with some sort of an autoimmune disease, some sort of or maybe you're immunocompromised. Maybe your relationship that you have with food is not what you wish it was. Maybe you're struggling with food issues of some sort. Maybe it's your spiritual life that's struggling. You're sort of searching for meaning, or you're unsure of who you are or what your purpose in life is. Complex trauma can affect us in all these areas of our life. There's a mental and emotional wearing over time that happens, that's cumulative. It affects our physical health, our relational well-being with others, our finances, our faith or our spirituality, our occupation. Maybe we're struggling with some job concerns. We're just in a job that we really don't like, or maybe it's you're fine with your job, but your finances are something you want to work on. I mean, complex trauma can affect us in all these different ways. And I want you to know you're not alone. I hope that this video or one of the videos on this channel will help you or serve you or provide a space for you to gain some clarity in your life. If there are hundreds of hours of videos on this channel, and if this channel is not one that you enjoy, no problem and no hard feelings. There are hundreds and thousands of YouTubers out there creating resources that you might find helpful. Click around until you find something that you really like. And if you do like this channel, great. And if you don't, there's no hard feelings. But if you do like this channel, if you would consider subscribing to this channel and clicking the little bell for notifications so you know when we do live streams. And if you find this video and this video ends up being helpful for you or someone you love, someone you know, it would be awesome if you would consider giving this video a thumbs up. And if you like discussions like these and you've been here for a week or a month or 5 years, I'm grateful you've chosen to be here for as long as you're here. A lot of you, you move forward in your life and you move on and you go and you create this beautiful, amazing life for yourself. And then out of nowhere, years later, you stumble across a video. You're like, wow, I haven't seen you guys in years. It's wonderful to see a lot of the same, the familiar faces. It's wonderful to meet new people. This has been a community for this. This has been a 5-year project so far, where we all sort of The community comes together and we hang out on Monday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's evolved over time, and I enjoy having conversations like these. I help lead discussions like these every single day, 365 days a year. And I do that through the foundation that I started called CPTSD Foundation. It's easy to find. You could just type in cptsdfoundation.org, or it'll be like the first link that pops up, I think. But you're welcome to join me over there. We have a weekly book club. It's very similar to this. We discuss books on trauma. We have daily recovery support calls that are a lot like this. They're 45 minutes-ish, 45 to 50 minutes every single day, 365 days a year. And there's a calendar of topics. We discuss all kinds of different topics. And it's just the joy of my life. This is just such a joy for me to be here with you. So whether you've been here, if this is your first time, welcome. I'm so happy to meet you. And if you've been here since the very, very, very beginning, back in like 2014, then thank you. Thank you for being on this journey right beside me. It's an honor. And I'm just grateful to be here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say hello to many of you who have been here for a while. You're here early. Thank you for being here. Special thank you to Poppy and Shannon and John Harvey and all the Blue Wrench crew, everyone who shows up here early to greet one another. And everyone that arrives here deserves kindness and mutual respect. And that's an environment that we like to cultivate here. And there's not going to be any unkindness that's tolerated here. If you're here to be contrarian or antagonistic or negative or abusive in any way, you'll be blocked and you won't be welcome back. So really, really grateful to be here with each and every one of you. And just want to say hello to John Harvey and Shanna and Tabby Ba and Austin. Heroes don't wear capes. Hi, family. Hello, family. My friendly family of choice. Hello to Secret Ninja 88. It's great to have you here. Secret Ninja 88 says, I need this today. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Hello to Angie. Hello to Aurora. Hello to SM. Great to have you here. Hi, Stacy. Hello, Jana. Hello, Mofari. Hey, Jeffrey. Great to have you here. Great to be here. Hello to Angela. Hello to John. Hey, Helen. Aww. Offering safe hugs to anyone who wants them. Really, really grateful to be here with you. So we're going to continue our series. And what we're doing, let's see if I have it. I don't know if I have it down below in the video. I can't really remember. Let me see. I can't really remember if I have it. Let's just double check. Oh, I do. Look at that. I actually remembered. So down in the description section of the video, we're doing a little bit of a series on the author Jackson Mackenzie. And I just received his other book in the mail, like I told you. And he wrote the book Psychopath Free. And he wrote this other book called Whole Again. A lot of us talk about not feeling like we don't feel like a whole person. And he writes, Whole Again, healing your heart and rediscovering your true self after toxic relationships and emotional abuse. We're going to read out of Psychopath Free tonight, though. And SM says, I recently came back from the Unique Haven retreat in Utah for survivors of childhood sexual abuse, and they really encourage us to find a support group. So here I am. Thank you for having the group. Oh my gosh, you're welcome. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, peer support. I'm telling you, I believe in the power of peer support. Peer support helped to save my life. And this is just what I want to do in response to that. I love being here with you all. I look forward to it every week. So I'm going to read. I need to take a couple sips of water. Hold on one second here. So last week we ended on page 180, and we're talking today about freedom. Freedom. What does it mean to experience freedom? And, you know, one of the first ways I experienced freedom is through educating myself on what it was I was experiencing, which is part of what you're doing here. One of the next ways that I experienced freedom was participating in peer support, which is part of what you're doing here. Ooh, Helen says peer support helps you feel connected to others and not so isolated. So true. Aurora Aquarius says, I'll be doing peer support with a new company next week. Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. They're lucky to have you. They are lucky to have you for sure. Oh, I am a huge, I mean, I ran a business development company. And then when I experienced the power of peer support, I literally shift 100% of my focus from developing businesses to helping others. And I began focusing on peer support. So I've been doing that now for about 5 years. It is like, it's my life's work. It is just like, it's what I want my legacy to be. I really, really, really hope that if like someday when I die, I hope people knew that I loved other humans, you know? I want people to know that I love other humans. I just love people. I particularly love abused people. And, you know, so many people who experience abuse don't, um, they don't experience love, you know? They don't know what it feels like to have somebody really, really care about them. And I love being able to, I feel like it's my purpose. I feel like it's why I was born, you know? Sarah says, I love people to a fault. That used to be me, Sarah. That used to be me. Now I'm finding balance in my life. And if we're all being real, like balance is a unicorn. It's like balance looks different depending on whoever the person is, you know? Oh, it's just It's just a wonderful thing. So we're going to talk today. I'm going to pick back up on page 181. And Jackson McKenzie is talking about our imagination. Let's talk for just a moment about our imagination, okay? Our imagination is something that we're born with, and it's like the weeds that grow through the cracks in the sidewalk. That's how I picture my imagination. Like those little weeds that pop through the sidewalk. And you're wondering, like, you glance down, and sometimes they even have beautiful little flowers, like dandelions, that pop through the sidewalk. And you just glance down, maybe, and you're thinking, wow, like this little weed has a stronger will than the sidewalk, than the concrete. It pushed so hard and stayed alive somehow in the most horrible, horrific environment with very little water, little to no sunshine, no love, and people stomping on it all day, every day. Whenever it would go by, cars driving by, people walking by, whatever. And yet this little weed, this little dandelion, will pop up out of the crack in the sidewalk. Somehow it like fought for the will to live. Like, I think of our imaginations like that. It wasn't like many of us experienced love and kindness and nurturing and safety and food and clothing and shelter and encouragement and validation and approval and support. Many of us didn't experience that. And yet we have this imagination. I mean, literally, if you look at like a definition, like a textbook definition of like what our imagination is, it's our creative power. It's what causes us to be able to survive in this world, right? To create anything, for us to um, get through all that we've gone through. We needed a creative imagination to navigate and create ways for us to move through all of the different circumstances and situations in our life, right? I think here we go. The dictionary says imagination, noun, the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. Literally, our imagination is the ability of our mind to be creative or resourceful. It's the part of our brain that imagines things. Now, you all know how I nerd out on neuroscience. If you give me a book on the brain, and I will read it cover to cover, and I will find analogies, and I'll load it up with highlights and notes in the margin and sticky notes, and I'll probably, try to start, 3 new websites and like figure out how to help more people, like figure out more about the brain, right? Like, I nerd out about that. Like, literally, our imagination is the part of our brain that imagines things. And I know that my imagination didn't have a lot of sunlight, a lot of shelter, love, or kindness, or any type of environment which would have caused it to want to stay alive. And yet it did, right? So Jackson McKenzie talks about our imagination in how we're going to be experiencing freedom. He says you can free your spirit. Like, picture that. We can free our spirit with the very same imagination that was once used to imprison it. Like, think about that for a moment. We can free our spirit with the very same imagination once used to imprison it. He says, with this knowledge, we take full responsibility for the person we are about to become. That's exciting. So here, I'm going to start on page 183, and I'm going to read. I'm going to read all the way through to page 198. Maybe to the top of page 199, okay? And then next week, we're going to talk about finding our true selves, discovering or rediscovering our true selves. So tonight we're gonna focus on experiencing freedom, and then next week we'll talk about our true selves or discovering our true selves. Shanna says, I don't remember imagination. Me neither. I don't remember having an imagination when I was younger, Shanna. But by faith, I know that I must have had one, because here I am. I'm creating. Like, somehow I found a way to survive, and now I'm creating. It's like it must have somehow survived, like that, like the little weed that pops through the crack in the sidewalk. Lindsay Kaminsky, hello, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here. Lindsay says, building a stimulative environment for microneuron pieces is as a nerve is to cable cars and train tracks. This is how I consider neuroplasticity. I love neuroplasticity. It gives this community hope, Lindsay. It means if we could learn it, we can unlearn it. We can create new neural pathways. Neuroscience. Yes, John, neuroscience. Woohoo! Ann Austin is right along with me. She loves nerding out. Me too. Sarah says, when we're in fight or flight, our imagination is turned off. This is true. It's absolutely true. Sarah says, I'm still in an abusive, controlling environment. Any advice? Ooh. She says, I can't leave, nowhere to go. And I'm a caregiver for my stepdad. Ooh. If you have to be in the environment, absolutely find ways to establish alone time, time away from the toxic, abusive people. Even if it's an hour a day, you're going to have to somehow find a way to practice self-care. Hello to Wally. Hello to Patty. Aw, Pixie Painter. How is Pixie Painter? It's great to have you both here always. So here we go. I'm starting on page, what did I say? 183? Let me make sure. Yep, 183. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read. Hey, Kira. John says, 3 cheers for the amygdala and the hippocampus, especially during trauma. Yes, absolutely. Hey, let's not forget the limbic system. The entire limbic system. My goodness, talk about a superhero. Here we go. Remember, we're on the topic of healing and recovering from emotionally abusive relationships with narcissists, sociopaths, and other toxic people. So that's what this is referring to. So there's a presupposition in you being here. You being here and listening today and spending time today here with us means that you are an adult who is experiencing CPTSD symptoms, which you can easily Google, as a result of being raised in an environment when you were younger with an emotionally abusive or narcissistic or sociopathic or toxic family of origin. And then perhaps you had relationships that were very similar in adulthood. So here we go. Jackson McKenzie, Psychopath Free, page 183. He says, looking back, moving forward. Once you have truly and completely disconnected your spirit from the psychopath, you will be able to look back on the experience from a less emotional perspective. You will begin to understand that you are not missing out on anything. In fact, you got lucky. I know it doesn't seem like that at first. It always feels like they are winning because that's the image they present to the world. Psychopaths always seem to be winning because they manage to abuse and replace victims with a big smile on their face, all the while appearing innocent and cheerful to the entire world. I'm going to pause here and just remind you that a lot of what Jackson McKenzie writes is directed toward you if you are coming out of an interpersonal romantic relationship with a psychopath or sociopath or narcissist or otherwise toxic person. And if the language he uses doesn't apply to you or understand, like it's hard for you to understand because your toxicity was only within the context of your family of origin, try to swap some words around or work the imagery in a way that makes sense to you so that you can take something that works for you today and that helps you. And if it's not helpful for you, that's no problem. You know, there's no shame in bowing out and saying, peace out, everybody. This isn't for me today. It's totally fine. Only be here if this is something that is helpful for you. Okay? So again, he's going to talk, especially in the next couple pages, he's going to talk a lot about healing relationships in our adult years, particularly interpersonal romantic relationships in our adult years with narcissists and psychopaths. Okay? So again, he's talking about how psychopaths always seem to be winning because they manage to abuse and replace victims with a big smile on their face, all the while appearing innocent and cheerful to the entire world. While you're at rock bottom, they seem to be happier than ever with their new life. But it's all an illusion. Manufactured success to impress others and evoke negative feelings in their past victims, like us. This is not the behavior of a winner. This is the behavior of a loser desperately trying to convince themselves and others that they are superior. A psychopath is incapable of feeling all the most wonderful human emotions like love, trust, and compassion. Sure, they pulled off their latest con with great success. But just because a person gets what they want does not make them a winner. So they pranced off into the sunset with some other partner. But you've forgotten about something very important. How can any single human being go from being so abusive to a sudden, new, and perfect relationship with someone else? They can't. It's emotionally and logically impossible. You might wish they would break up with the new victim just for the validation, but it won't make any difference. The psychopath will repeat their cycle until the day they die or settle down with a comfortable target. You do not need to stick around and watch. They will maintain the shallow illusion of success and happiness no matter what happens. You will never gain any satisfaction from their downfall. Instead, you will come to understand that their life, their entire life, is a failure. It's a sham. Now Jackson goes on to discuss the anomaly. Anomaly, noun, something that deviates from what is standard, normal, or expected. During and after an encounter with a psychopath, you probably found yourself believing in ways you never imagined, lashing out, pleading, begging, taking revenge, writing nasty letters, apologizing profusely, blaming yourself, blaming others. A far cry from your usual fun-loving, easygoing self. You probably feel ashamed about this behavior, but it's time to let that go. Any emotionally healthy human being is going to react strongly to emotional abuse. The fact that you are ashamed about it means that you have a conscience. During the idealization phase, you were tricked into a frenzy excitement. During the abuse, you were doing everything you could to hang on to that manufactured dream. During the silence, you were frantically trying to figure out what you did wrong. Did you know that silence sets off the same receptors in the brain as physical pain? And after that, you saw your abuser happily run off with another person as if you never existed. How is anyone's heart supposed to withstand all of that? The answer is it can't. That's why your entire personality seemed to transform into someone you barely recognized. Your emotional responses imploded upon one another, all in a very human attempt to respond to a completely inhuman experience. And now you're left with a lot of embarrassing memories and concerns about your own good nature. But was any of this behavior normal for you? Before this person entered your life, you never behaved like this. After this person was gone from your life, you never behaved like this. So what does that tell you? Assuming an average human baseline level of partly crazy, along with some expected craziness during the recovery period, the spike in the chart, which it's hard for you guys to see because it's a chart in the book, um, the spike in the chart still seems abnormally huge, scientifically speaking, of course. So there's a chart that he's referencing right now in the book here. And what it does is it's a typical, like a line graph. And on the left-hand side is the word crazy, and on the bottom is time being measured. And over the course of a period of time in the relationship with a narcissist or a toxic person or someone who's abusive or sociopathic, There's before the relationship, during the relationship, and after the relationship. That's the time that's being measured. And then the level of crazy spikes up during the relationship, and then it goes back down after the relationship, and it was at a baseline before the relationship. So hopefully you understand what he's trying to reference here. It's like nothing, 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 nothing. Whoops, we've reached full crazy. And then after the relationship, back down to nothing, 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 or just a baseline of like somewhat crazy, right? Or expected craziness. So, I mean, we're all a little crazy, but you know. So he says if you take into account that this spike never existed in any of your other relationships, suddenly we have some very compelling evidence that suggests this so-called craziness might actually be an anomaly. This anomaly was situational, specific only to this very strange and hurtful experience with the psychopath. During the recovery stages, which is where we are now, it takes quite some time for things to settle back down to a healthy, likely healthier equilibrium. But the point is, the process only begins once you have gone no contact with this person, and not a moment sooner. So what does this really say about their influence on you? Was it positive or negative? Looking back at your constant, did you ever experience these strange spikes with them? Now keep in mind, your brain is probably going to play some tricks on you. You'll think to yourself, well, the reason I reacted so strongly is because this was the most intense love of my life. Or, oh, the reason I'm so depressed is that I just lost the best thing that ever happened to me. This is why recovery is so important. It's a time for us to discover that these feelings are neither natural nor healthy. Falling in love is an intense thing, but it's not supposed to evoke feelings of desperation, anxiety, and fear. Likewise, breakups are almost always going to be painful, but they're not going to leave you as an unrecognizable shell of your former self. Psychopaths would love for you to believe that this was a perfectly healthy relationship, that you just fell too hard and too fast. Or if you're talking about the parent-child relationship, you know, the parental psychopath would love for you to believe that you had a perfect childhood, a relatively healthy childhood, that you're just overreacting. In fact, the psychopath scoffs at the idea that anyone should need to recover from them, because they do not feel things like heartbreak and devastation or betrayal. So the next time your friends, family, or ex-partner make you feel guilty for the time it's taking you to heal, remember that your recovery path is also an anomaly. You're allowed to take as much time and energy as you need to feel better, because you are recovering from an experience that hugely deviated from the norm. So wherever you are now, whether it be in the midst of an abusive relationship, emptiness, or shame for your own uncharacteristic behavior, forgive yourself. If you've spent your whole life being patient and kind with others, don't start questioning your entire sense of self now just because of what this relationship did to you. Look back at those moments and accept what was unusual, and be gentle with yourself. You've taken responsibility for your anomaly. A psychopath will never take responsibility for the way they behave every single day. So the next area that Jackson McKenzie talks about is a letter to the next victim or the next target. Okay? So again, if you have not experienced an adult interpersonal romantic relationship with someone who's toxic or abusive, and you are only dealing with parental psychopathy, then move some words around or try to find something that helps you. And if none of this helps you, that's okay. Just take what works and leave the rest, okay? So he says, this is where we talk about writing a letter to the next victim or to the next target of the psychopath or the abuser. In nearly every toxic relationship, there's another player, the replacement. At first, this person is the main source of contention and hatred in your recovery journey. They are presumed to be the homewrecker. They ran off happily with your soulmate, flaunting themselves all over Facebook, while you became the crazy jealous ex. This person stole your dream. But with time, you come to see that this person actually saved your life. This is a letter for every next victim or next target. I'm not suggesting you send this letter to anyone. That would not accomplish a thing and would only serve to hurt you and pull you back in. But we all want to get to the point where we can write this letter. And I suspect we would all wish in retrospect that it was a letter that we would have been sent. So here I'm going to read the letter to the next victim. So this is the next victim of whoever abused you. Okay, if it was your parents, then work the wording around so that it helps you. And if it was a romantic partner, then I'm pretty sure this will fit in some way, which may help you. Okay, so what do we want to name? What do we want to name the next victim or the next target? There's a blank here. Dear blank. Do we want to name her Penelope? Do we want to name him Thor? Do we want to name her Aurora Borealis? My parents named me Aurora Borealis and then changed it to Athena, as if that's so much better. Do we want to name him Zeus? Aurora says, dear sister. Here we go. Dear sister, I cannot reach you directly, for it would only send me back into a world of insanity that I have no desire to revisit. But I can hope that you might come across this letter and learn that there are always two sides to every story. You've already been told one. Well, here is the other. I hated you. I watched you run off with the love of my life, happily and shamelessly, showing the world what you had done. It took me weeks to realize that the infidelity had been going on long before our relationship ended. It took me months to realize that my pain and tears were used as a device to manufacture your sympathy. And now it will take me years to recover from the insecurity that comes from being triangulated with another person. But I do not hate you anymore. I fear for you. Although we have different personalities, bodies, and spirits, when it comes to this relationship, we are no different. You see, I once rode the high that you are currently riding. I was the special one, the most beautiful, perfect, flawless partner in the world. I saved them from the pain inflicted by their last crazy ex. I sympathized with them about how horribly they were treated. I was elated to be the one who finally made them happy after all their alleged suffering. They were fascinated by me. They spent every waking moment texting me and showering me with attention. Does this sound familiar? One must wonder, in this short span of time, how I suddenly became crazy. Bipolar, jealous, needy, clingy, abusive. How did that happen? Is it really possible for a person to go from flawless to horrible in the blink of an eye? And furthermore, is it really possible that their previous ex was all these things as well? And what about the ex before that? The common denominator has become startlingly clear. For so long, I punished myself. I truly believed that I deserved my pain. Something must be wrong with me, I thought, in order for them to run off into the sunset with another person. But then I realized I was once that person. I was you. And because of that, I understand that I can never save you from this nightmare. Victims of psychopaths cannot escape once they have been groomed. For the rest of your relationship, you will deny reality and invent reasons that you might be the exception. You will lie to yourself, desperately trying to recreate your perfect dream. But ever so slowly, your identity will begin to fall apart. They will push your boundaries until you don't even know who you are anymore. Another person will enter the scene. It is inevitable in relationships with narcissistic predators. You will be strung along for as long as possible, as I was. Your increasingly volatile reactions will be used against you to evoke sympathy from the next victim, the new target. And eventually, you will be me. This is why I fear for you. I would not wish the pain and suffering I have experienced on anyone. I know that your intentions were not malicious. I know that you were being spoon-fed the exact same lies I believed a long time ago. The story you have been told is false. It was a pity play, designed to enhance your fairy tale and consume your heart. You will not believe that today, but someday this letter will make sense. Brutal, heartbreaking sense. I can only hope that the aftermath of your abuse might be guided by this letter. I can only hope that this might provide you with the tools that I was never given. A puzzle piece to jumpstart your journey. I do not hate you. That is what they would want. I will not carry on their legacy by taking part in these triangles anymore, injecting jealousy and hatred to fill the void of their soul. I've made it through to the other side, and I know you can too. Please have the same empathy for the person who replaces you. We can only ever stop this cycle of abuse with compassion for one another by recognizing that all human beings deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and honesty. Wishing you love, hope, and above all, freedom. I'm pausing here because I was wondering if you guys could hear the banging. Angela says, is someone knocking? They're doing some sort of like construction upstairs in the apartment above me. And like, I mean, first there was a family visiting and they had a lot of kids and there was a lot of screaming and yelling. And then something went like really loud boom, like in the midst of all the running around last night. And then now today I don't hear any kids, but I hear banging. So I think they're fixing whatever got broken. But it's a vacation rental, so they're probably trying to hurry up before the next person checks in. You know. Hello to Avery. Hello to Jesse and Jana and JJ and Kira. Hello to Miss Beachboxer and Shannon and Bella and Whitey J Hello to anyone else I haven't greeted by name. So I'm going to continue reading on for a couple more pages briefly. We'll go ahead and we'll try to end right on time tonight. And we're talking right now about introspection and insecurities. Okay? So this is Jackson McKenzie, Psychopath Free, page 191. And then he also has another book that I just received called Whole Again. Whole, like WHOLE, like feeling wholeness. Healing your heart and rediscovering your true self after toxic relationships and emotional abuse. And these videos aren't sponsored or anything. I'm just a fan. So, anyone knows Jackson, tell him he has a fan in Hawaii. Here we go. Page 191. Introspection and insecurities. You and I were manipulated, insulted, degraded, belittled, and neglected. Full responsibility for this goes to the psychopath. It does not matter if you were vulnerable or insecure. No decent human being should ever take advantage of another. None of it was your fault. By now, you may have educated yourself about psychopathic behavior, learned the signs, and validated your experience. You should be disgusted by the psychopath's behavior and have no desire to see them ever again. I hope you have found a comfortable landing place after experiencing the stages of grief, on the road to self-forgiveness, healing, and love. But you may still be stuck in a place of insecurity, not trusting your judgment, thinking that you were blind enough to fall for a psychopath, and worried that you cannot trust yourself to make good decisions going forward. Hopefully, you've reached out to a healing professional or a recovery group and have found the support you need to recover from the trauma you have suffered. And you will find sure footing as you walk into a psychopath-free life. However, as essential as support is, there comes a time when you need to start trusting yourself again. This book and the Psychopath Free Forum are not crutches, they are stepping stones. Sooner or later, all survivors must learn to make decisions on their own, without seeking the opinions of everyone around them. Better life choices can only come from within, and you will know when you're making them because your intuition and self-respect will skyrocket. You certainly won't need to seek any external approval. Introspection is a great way to discover why you're looking for this approval in the first place. It could be rooted in your childhood, past friendships, the psychopathic relationship, or any combination of the above. In order to better understand how all of this came to be, you can look back on the relationship and examine the toxic dynamic that formed. The psychopath's mirroring techniques are actually an incredible, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take a look at your own demons. It's time to start asking questions. Why did this happen? What are our vulnerabilities? Of course, these vulnerabilities aren't your fault, but it is important to understand how you were able to be exploited. Now, I want to pause right here and I want to say that if you were exploited in childhood, none of this applies to you. I'm raising my hand. I was exploited in childhood. I didn't have the power of choice. I didn't have an option. I was living under the roof of and in the environment of my family of origin. They were the psychopaths. So I didn't have the power of choice. And if that is you, please know that this does not apply. This only applies to adulthood. Only, only, only. Okay? Jeffrey Sherman is raising his hand. Childhood through young adulthood. Same here. I'm raising my hand. Miss Beachboxer says me too. Yeah. So this doesn't apply in childhood, okay? This experience is all about cultivating a healthy self-esteem that comes from within, not from any sort of external validation. We all have insecurities and vanities, many of which we are probably not aware of. True self-discovery comes from practicing introspection and becoming aware of those little flaws. This part is really up to you, but here are some of the most common reasons survivors give for falling in love with the psychopath in the first place: looks, money, career, an unfulfilling marriage, a need for attention, a need to be appreciated, a fear of being alone. Digging deeper, they find the insecurities that were at the root of their reasons. Their good looks, the psychopath's good looks, validated my own attractiveness. I am worried about financial stability and my ability to provide for myself. I was looking for their career success to prove that I am successful. Their attention made me feel beautiful, interesting, and worthy. Now look at your relationship with the psychopath. Whatever you needed most, they validated and provided. Pay special attention to the specifics of their excessive flattery. These are what you were seeking validation for. So, what are your insecurities? Get out a piece of paper and make a list. This will save your life down the road. Once you're aware of these traits, you will also become aware of the people who try to manipulate them. And even better, you can begin to make changes to better yourself and improve your life. For example, why should you need someone else to tell you that you're attractive in order to feel attractive in your heart? Those who have conquered their demons will be completely useless to the psychopath. You won't be susceptible to the psychopath's grooming if you do not require validation, but instead simply enjoy a compliment every now and then. Psychopaths feed on unhealthy needs, not everyday kindness. With time, you will find yourself less and less attracted to those who excessively flatter and praise you. Keep in mind, there is another kind of vulnerability, the good kind. Your dreams, even your sexual fantasies, life goals, romantic endeavors, perhaps raising a family. These are all beautiful, good vulnerabilities that make you human. Do not let the psychopath experience, do not let the psychopathic experience that you had change these things. Next to your list of insecurities, make a list of your dreams. You must never mistake your passions for your flaws. And likewise, your empathetic nature is not a weakness, although the psychopath certainly makes you question that. So there's a little section here that Jackson McKenzie writes called Cowardly Love. Psychopaths don't just shower you with praise and flattery, they groom you to reciprocate. In the very beginning, they send constant text messages and they want to know what you're doing at every moment. If you don't respond fast enough, they'll send quick follow-ups with more compliments. At first, it seems like they truly need you. like you're the answer to all of their supposed insecurities and crazy exes. You come to rely on this communication as a source of happiness and self-worth. And that's when they start to pull back. Once you're hooked, they will suddenly start to seem slightly bored and annoyed by your attempts to continue the dynamic that they created. This leads you to feel needy, smothering, and unhinged. Your excitement about finding perfect love rapidly transforms into a constant fear of losing it. This is how cowards manufacture love in others. Since they are unlovable in their true forms, they learn at an early age how to engineer desperation and desire. This last section that we're going to read right now is called Sympathy for the Devil. Adorable, charming, lovable. You'll often hear these adjectives used to describe a psychopath. It's all a part of their plan. You were probably never attracted to arrogance, jerkiness, and overconfidence. Instead, you're drawn to the innocent, sympathetic partner, the one who tells you that you're making them happier than anyone else. But then something shifts. Instead of being the person that makes them happy, you desperately need them to make you happy. There's a strange pattern among most survivors going from giving them attention to needing their attention in the blink of an eye. How did this transition happen? How did you lose your self-esteem to someone who seemed to have none to begin with? When you first met the psychopath, you probably felt sorry for them. They had so many sympathetic qualities. Their ex had abused them. They were insecure about the way they looked. They had been so unhappy until they met you, etc., blah, blah, blah. This is where your empathy kicks in. You've done it all your life. You see something feeling inferior, and you know how to make them feel better. You want to heal them. And so, you put all of yourself into raising someone else up. The psychopath genuinely seems to adore all of your efforts. They compare you to their exes, idealizing you above everyone else. It's as if all your energies finally have a purpose, and you are so appreciated. Many survivors report not even being attracted to the psychopath at first, but with time, you begin to see them as the best looking person in the world. You can't even think of anyone else. How did this happen? By pouring all of your empathetic capital into healing their supposed insecurities, you come to a point where you actually start to believe your own kindness and compassion. You told them how smart, funny, successful, and attractive they were, and you started to believe it yourself. You also become obsessed with proving your loyalty because you believe the problem is their insecurity. So you open up to them and you tell them how much you need them. If you make yourself vulnerable enough, surely they will learn to overcome their inferiority complex. But that is not the problem, and it never was. You know now that you spent all this time chasing a manufactured illusion. You were under the impression that they thought they were lucky to be with you. You probably didn't like that power dynamic, so you built up your partner in order to make them feel better. And this is how they hooked you, with sympathy. If you perceive them as childlike, your natural instincts kick in, and you do everything you can to prove how much you care. This is likely the way you've dealt with people throughout your life. When others have no self-confidence, you try to build it for them. I'm going to pause right there and just say that I had this dynamic with my parents as well. I spent so much time trying to build them up and convince them that I loved them, thinking that that was the missing ingredient, you know? It's really devastating when you think about it that way. I'm at the bottom of page 196. Like a psychopath, you can probably sense insecurities. The difference lies in how you act upon those insecurities. Psychopaths see them as a way to manipulate and control. Empathetic people, on the other hand, seek to cure insecurities with love and compassion. This is why so many survivors find themselves surrounded with negative people after the breakup. Because for a long time, they probably gained their sense of self-worth by making miserable people happy. So when the psychopath came along, you were willing to do whatever it took to build up their happiness. You constantly complimented their looks. You didn't mind paying for dates. You laughed at their jokes, even when they weren't funny. And in return, you were rewarded with their overwhelming appreciation that gave your life meaning. Your self-worth was sky high because they were feeding it. But somewhere in this whirlwind, you suddenly found the tables turned. It happened fast. Instead of sympathetically reasoning the poor guy or girl, instead of sympathetically reassuring the poor guy or girl, you found yourself desperate for their approval. They began to make it clear that they did not actually need all of that attention. In fact, they found it very annoying. When you complimented them, you received an arrogant laugh or a disingenuous, "You too, baby." It's as if you became the relationship newbie and they were the one who would take things from there. Additionally, they made sure you knew that they were getting attention from other sources. Your unique ability to make them happy wasn't so unique after all. This triangulation was pure torture. They used the silent treatment to punish you and deride your once needed sympathies. You began to feel stupid, unattractive, needy, and useless. Your solution was to continue sacrificing yourself to make room for their feelings. You suppressed complaints about their lying or triangulating because they made it very clear that this kind of talk was unacceptable. Do you see what happened there? They made sure the ball was in their court. And the scary thing is, despite your own beliefs, it was never in your court to begin with. All they did was make you believe it was. By giving you this false sense of self-confidence and importance, you opened up fast. This is why you trusted the psychopath very quickly and let them into your life without a second guess. This is also why the grand finale was more terrible than anything you've ever felt before. It was the outright dismissal of your self-worth. You invested all of it in them, thereby giving them the power to take it away. You never recognized the game they were playing because you were too busy pleasing their invented childlike persona. After all, how in the world could a child be plotting manipulation and domination? And then they declare checkmate when you thought you were playing checkers. The hard part is that you weren't just addicted to the flattery and attention they gave you, you were actually more addicted to their appreciation of all you gave them, because this appreciation gave you self-worth. Without their appreciation, you feel empty, and that's why the recovery from a psychopathic breakup takes so long. You are not just getting over a romantic encounter, you're rebuilding your self-worth from scratch. That's also why you become so sensitive to the reactions of future partners. Until you go through the recovery process, you will be bouncing and trying to find a replacement for the approval that you lost, something to give your life meaning again. But there is good news here, and it outweighs everything else. Once you begin recovery, your life changes forever. You start to find overwhelming self-worth in your own values, behavior, and heart. Remember those negative people I mentioned? Slowly but surely, they begin to disappear from the picture. At first, you question yourself and remember how so-called happy you were with them. But as you redefine your self-worth, come to realize that you created this happiness. And similar to your relationship with the psychopath, you thought these people needed your happiness. Well, this isn't your responsibility anymore. You have better things coming your way. And I will end it there. I know um, we're about 10 minutes over. So I just wanted to say a very, very, very warm good night. Ooh, Helen relates to all of this. Me too. This happened to me too, right before I moved to Maui. Yeah. Miss Beachboxer says, my psychopath brother and my narcissistic mom. My brother did this to his wife and kids. When the wife asked for a divorce, he charged her falsely with assault. Oh, so sad. Janice says, I'm so codependent and nurturing. I automatically help her with everything, but of course it doesn't change her. And it's like we have to pretend, and that's so hard for me. It's just so hard. The whole situation is hard, you guys. Good night, Aurora. Ooh, JJ says JJ has the book. I just got the other one, JJ. His next book called Whole Again, Healing Your Heart and Rediscovering Your True Self After Toxic Relationships and Emotional Abuse. Yeah. Victoria says, I relate to every word you read, Athena. It's great to see you, Victoria. Oh, you're so welcome, Pixie Painter. Whitey J says, I know entire towns full of narcissistic sociopaths. Oh my goodness. Seriously. Oh, Avery says, I had to move 3,000 miles away to get away from my psychopath father and narcissistic mother. Me too. It's been wonderful to be here with you all. So next week we're going to talk about finding our true selves, like talking about like who are we? Who are we, right? What kind of personality do we have? Are we an introvert? Are we an extrovert? Do we like to spend time alone with ourselves? Do we dislike time alone? Like, what's our personality like? We're going to get to know our true selves. I'm really looking forward to that. I always look forward to spending time with you guys here. And if you like conversations like these, I have conversations, I co-host conversations like these 365 days a year. through a foundation I started for complex trauma survivors. And there's a link. I don't even know if I spelled it right. Remember last time I did it wrong? It looks like I spelled it right. CPTSD foundation.org. Awesome. So we have calls like these every single day. And we talk about all kinds of different topics, and it's just peer support, just like this. It's not any type of mental health care. But I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel really blessed and grateful that I get to do this work. So until next week, or until I see you sooner, we also have a book club. The book club meets on Saturdays, and we read books about healing trauma. Hey, Connie. Great to see you. Oh no, Whitey J signed up but never received an email. Whitey J, peer support is just that. It's peer support. It's peer-to-peer. So we are not mental health professionals. Period. End of story. So it's peers supporting other peers. We are not licensed professionals. It's not a replacement for any type of mental health care. We ask that every person seeks their own professional trauma-informed support outside of the peer support calls. Peer support is not a primary or secondary source of support for anyone that is living with CPTSD symptoms or any type of PTSD, anxiety, dissociation. That requires help from a licensed mental health care provider. So there's primary care, secondary care, and then like primary support would be your primary doctor. Secondary support would be a specialist, someone who specializes in mental health care. And then what we provide is a tertiary means of support, like the third level, primary, secondary, tertiary. So we provide, through the foundation, we provide a tertiary means of support, like adjunctive care, not the primary means of support for anyone. Hello to Lil Shay Rose. Ooh, Whitey J says, I can't seem to find a therapist. I tried 3 different therapists. They were complete jokes. We have a volunteer, Whitey J, through the foundation, who they volunteer. Oh, you know what? I have someone I was supposed to get back to today, and I didn't do that yet. So we have a volunteer who helps people find trauma-informed care in their local area. Her name is Suzanne. So yeah, we'll do everything we can to help you, for sure. But I look forward to seeing you all when I see you. Thank you so much for being here. Hello to Scorp444. I'm sending each of you lots of love and compassion. Please be kind and gentle with yourselves because you're worth it. And I will see you all soon, okay? Good night, everybody.